3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everybody on Twitch and YouTube? We're back with another episode of the BCS Sports Show, and it's your boy CJ and the other two. They want to introduce themselves.
The other two.
I was gonna let you just take it away with who you are, but I don't know how to do these intros. I just kind of wing it every week. So,
are we changing the podcast name to CJ and the Pips or something?
No,
CJ and the Pips.
CJ and the BYU USC talk. We'll do that.
I don't even know what a pip is in the Gladys Knight context.
It's just three dudes talking BYU.
See, I hear Pip and I think Magic the Gathering because that's the name
That's
of the little
thinking.
symbol on the top right of the card. So
I was doing it because of the old Gladys Knight group, the Gladys Knight and the Pips.
I'm looking at assume that no one knows, no one but you knows what the hell that is.
Oh, a singer from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
She was pretty big back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, but we're also
CJ
30.
just said literally 70s and 80s.
I mean, it's her career 1948 to present. All right, so she's been around a while. I'm sure we've heard some of her songs. If we're being
I was gonna say, to be fair, I do know her because she ended up becoming a Mormon. But
see, there it is.
There it is. And here's BYU talk. Let's go.
BYU talk starts already. We're not even a minute.
That's the only reason I was aware of her. But that's more to just explain. But she was big. She won.
I hope you know I'm not recording this, so whatever information's being filled right now is only going to live viewers, not anyone on the recording.
That's all good. Nobody's listening in either direction, right? We're just talking to each other.
Pretty much. And I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of need for a Gladys Knight recap.
Anyways.
All right.
Yeah, no, she was big back in the day, so the
my god, it hasn't ended yet.
Her backup singers were called the Pips.
It hasn't ended.
One last thing, her nickname is pretty cool, the Empress of Soul. All right. So, college football playoff. Have you guys watched any of it?
Sucked.
All the games
sucked.
Yeah.
They all sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Even the NFL games today sucked. It was a bad football.
Oh yeah, there was NFL games today. They were supposed to be good games.
Yeah, they all sucked. Tank Dell died today.
Yeah, I feel bad. That looked really bad.
He dislocated his knee.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what they said later. So,
but
he's dead, and the Chiefs still won. So,
my favorite part of today with the college football is just every like Alabama and
I saw it.
And Lane Kiffin gets on Twitter and is like, ha ha ha, we I forget what he tweeted, something like,
what did he say?
This is a really good game. It was like something really passive aggressive.
Oh, last night I saw a thing. That
was today. I think it's something.
Way to keep us on the edge of our seats committee.
Riveting. Well, he also said something else. There was something like, but it was to the same effect of like.
I saw somebody else say the same thing where it's like, oh, my SMU shouldn't have been here. Miami, Alabama, or Ole Miss would have been better. And I'm like, you think that? But I think I'm just gonna say it. I think any team from the ACC would have gotten their asses handed to them today, regardless of who it was.
Clemson did, so
you can put SMU too. Both of them were
both of
ACC.
them.
So banner day for the SEC.
Yeah,
I think the biggest issue is just because they had time off because they didn't play in a title game, or two of the three. Indiana didn't play in a title game, so I think Indiana's
true. Indiana
and Notre Dame both didn't play in a title game, so I think that's Indiana had something to do with that. I think, but I got no excuse for SMU. They just suck.
My whole thing.
Hot take. You thought this weekend was bad? Just wait till ASU and Boise State get their asses blown out next weekend. So just wait on New Year's Eve. So just wait for that. So they think it's going to be bad now.
ASU. The only reason
who are they playing?
Is Texas?
Question.
Texas, they're going to get their asses handed out.
No, Cam Scadaboo's going to get his.
Texas
is going to win, but it's not going to be a blowout.
I don't think so.
You guys haven't been watching enough Arizona State, apparently.
I I think Texas is gonna I think Texas is just that much better.
You should watch some Cam Scatterbo highlights.
But also too, I don't think one guy can run through a Texas defense like that. Maybe he can, but if it's Cam Scatterbo, but the entire
guys would be able to
I think he just wants the Big Ten to do well.
This year, it's gonna.
Oh, I'm not saying Texas is unbeatable. I'm just saying, I think there's a difference between ASU and Georgia.
Like I said, I think Texas still wins that game, but no, I don't
think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be 2 or 3 touchdowns.
No.
Yeah.
It's gonna be at most 10 points.
No, it's not.
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah,
I'd be shocked. The quarterback play for ASU is not that good. And I think too.
Sam Levitt, he's pretty decent.
Again,
I don't know what you're talking about. You're going over. You're going through all this stuff and not backing it up with any info. Sam Levitt's not that good.
Okay, hold on.
His numbers
let's look at this.
Decent this year.
Hold on.
24 touches, 5 picks. Completion percentage a little low at 63%, but not bad.
He wasn't a world beater, but
he's good enough.
With Cam Scatterbo running and he'll have some open.
So here, let's play a game. Hold on. Let's play.
Oh, I love games.
Hold on. Let's play a game. They are the number 3 ranked total defense in the country at defensive yards per game at 249.
Texas is?
Texas is. Where was ASU's offense this year? Let's play. Let's see this.
To be fair,
you're gonna. No. You know, I have to play my. No, hold on.
But I have to go.
I'm
not gonna play your game.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna play.
Arizona was around 30-ish in yards per game.
To be fair, but we need to talk about the teams as they are now because Arizona State didn't start great. But by the time they got some stuff,
that's why I want to look at their points per game. Arizona State, 33.
Yeah,
there's 33 points per game.
Which puts them in the 25 to 35 range. It looked like that. ESPN doesn't have actual numbers.
Yeah, I don't know why they. I just wanted the actual rank.
I think Texas wins it because they've just got more guys.
I think you're overhyping ASU.
I think you're overhyping Texas.
I'm not overhyping Texas. I'm saying Texas has been dominant damn near all year. Arizona State's been dominant for 3 games.
I mean, who's hot?
So I guess
Texas.
We could do a comparison. Where do you
Arizona
think Texas
State
is?
Too. What are you talking about?
Where do you think Arizona State is compared to Clemson? Because Clemson lost by 14.
Clemson?
Yeah. So is Arizona State worse than Clemson?
Arizona State's much better than Clemson.
I tend to agree a little bit.
Clemson's probably in the shittiest conference.
True.
In the worst conference.
That is true.
The Big 12's biggest issue is I would say if Colorado, BYU, Arizona State had to play in even Iowa State had to play in the ACC, they probably would have run the table and gone undefeated because that's how bad it is.
Yeah,
if they had to play a schedule there.
And yet the ACC got 2 teams in.
Yeah. Well, because I
both got killed.
I think the biggest, to be fair, I do think the biggest problem of why that happened is because to be truthfully, I do think BYU should have got in because BYU was only a 2-loss team. BYU should have been in over probably SMU, but I think they got stuck with this.
It was to Kansas. That's my problem for BYU.
With the nonsensical,
CJ
crap.
That's Kansas to Kansas.
Yep, 100% Kansas.
Hilarious. I guess they went off since they haven't lost since November. And in that time, they played Oklahoma State, trash. UCF, trash. Kansas State, barely beat Kansas State. Barely beat BYU, which is probably the best team they played all year. Mm-hmm. And then beat the snot out of Arizona, who was trash. Iowa State shouldn't have been there. Should have been BYU. But in terms of just if I'm looking at what they've done, I guess. I don't think the offense is going to pack a punch compared to a better defense.
I didn't say Arizona State was going to win. I just said they'd be in it.
I don't think they're going to be. I don't think it's going to be within. It's going to be within 10. I don't see that.
10 points or less. That's what I'm calling right now. 10.5 points will be our
shocked.
between me and Spects. It'll be our
over under.
It's not really the over under, but that'll be our special over under.
That over under is going to be 14.
So right,
14.5.
Right now it's Texas minus 13.5. Texas minus 13.5 right now is over.
I'm going to say I'm saying that sounds more right.
I'm taking the under on that. Easy.
That's
easy money.
Stamp it. Let's see who's right.
Well, okay. In his defense,
under on that.
Wait, you're taking Arizona plus 13.
He's taking the points.
He's taking Arizona plus 13.5.
Yes.
That's probably to be fair. To be fair, I take that bet too because that's like
that's a lot of points.
I'll lose that.
That's a lot of points to try to cover.
I do think that they'll lose. It's going to be Texas up 14. I do not see Arizona holding around because it's the first. They're the first real opponent they played in over a month.
Yeah, since BYU.
Since BYU, that has to come into play, and that defense is gonna. I think that defense is gonna rock them.
And we'll see.
We'll see. We also thought Penn State wasn't going to do well, and they smoked SMU. Because I'm pretty sure on Thursday you thought SMU was going to win that game.
No, I said I want my exact words were I'm taking SMU because I think it'd be hilarious if they did.
That probably that might have been how you said it. Yeah.
I did it for comedy. I did it for comedy reasons. As somebody said today, Penn State won a game that matters. I think we're doing something wrong.
Watch Penn State go on to win the whole thing, and then you're gonna have Bama and
hey man, go Big Ten.
Sitting there
go saying, Big Ten. I am pro Big Ten, except Ohio State. Ohio State can go jump off a bridge, but I am pro Big Ten.
I've never understood the pro conference thing. I want all the teams in my conference to lose.
Because it makes us look better.
I know. I understand. Like with college football is a little different than the pros, but
you have to, right?
As someone,
it makes Spects' USC team look
better.
Okay for
we almost beat him, so I don't know. I don't know what it says when we should have beat Penn State.
I don't
know what that says. So.
I mean, you guys did beat LSU this year, although LSU ended up not.
Yeah, that was. I'm starting to think that was our high point because fucking.
That was when I remember you and I having a conversation about that game.
Miller Moss, we're like,
Miller Moss is a Heisman candidate.
Oh my God, Miller Moss was good, and then the real Miller Moss showed up. Now he's at Missouri, and he's gonna be. And I'm just laughing like, damn, you couldn't handle the Big Ten. You think you can handle the SEC? Bro, you're gonna get your ass cleats. You're gonna get your booty cheeks clapped, homie.
Thing is, though, he's also going to Missouri, so like that is probably the worst team in the SEC he's gonna get by a lot.
Booty. No. Missouri was. I thought Missouri was okay. It was actually like decent.
Were they?
Yeah, they were like in the top 10 for a good minute.
It's them and Vanderbilt that are kind of bringing up the rear of the SEC.
So, but what was funny to me about the whole thing with Lane Kiffin and Greg Sankey and all these guys being like, and even what's the name on one of the
Lane
ESPN
Kiffin
shows,
didn't say anything. Lane Kiffin had no right to say anything.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Ole Miss, it's like with Ole Miss, it's like hold on, who I was pulling this up earlier on my phone, but it's like with both of you, don't lose the games you lost. Like
they lost to Kentucky, dude.
You can't sit here and constantly whine and moan about the fact that the selection committee didn't take a 3-loss SEC team over these 2-loss other teams
because they can't.
You lost to Florida, Ole Miss.
Yeah,
you lost to Kentucky.
Kentucky, that's the worst.
The thing is, see, the whole thing
it's like sure, you also lost to LSU, who seemed decent at the time, but even LSU turned out to not be that great. So it's like your 3 losses are not that good.
No, but the problem is, I don't think they'll ever let a 3-loss team in. But it comes back
not unless there's no other options.
No, they didn't. Who they let in a 3-loss? No, they didn't.
Was it Clemson? No, I know. I saw one of them.
Clemson was
Clemson got in because Clemson won the conference. Clemson won the conference. They had to get in.
Yeah,
so that was the only reason.
Well, unless Clemson had been ranked lower than the 5th conference champion, but
that wasn't going to happen.
But Tulsa was it Tulane? I think crapped the bed on that one. So
yeah. So you had. But also, too, they'd have to let him in because the ACC is a big conference.
And then it's the same thing with Bama. It's the same thing with Bama. Don't lose to Vanderbilt. don't lose to, and then look, if it had just been that loss to Vanderbilt, it might have been like, oh, well, that was just a fluke or a flash in the pan kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then in your last 3 weeks, or in your last what was it, 2 or 3 weeks, you lost to Oklahoma and well, I guess it was just Oklahoma, but you lost to Oklahoma when you definitely should not have, and you didn't even put up a touchdown on them. It's like,
yeah, that is tough. 24-3. That's.
It's like, well, and every time Greg's saying, he's like, well, it's just these games matter more and blah 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 blah. I'm like,
see, the issue,
the
single-handedly,
your best teams are losing to these terrible teams in your conference.
Because the biggest issue is they had that nonsensical like third out of conference game that brings their SOS down. It's like we go back to what we were saying last week. You're better off being in a position where these teams play another conference like the NFL does, where your out of conference schedule is another conference, and that's your tiebreaker, not this nonsensical SOS crap. It's a straight up, hey, this is how you fared against this other conference. Or we have to do the thing we also sort of said, ditch the conference games and have like how they do basketball. Like these conference games don't matter.
What needs to happen is there just needs to be an overarching league that has all the teams, and just have everybody play each other constantly, and try to have.
Well, that's what we were
trying to have whoever does that
scheduling.
Schedule the best games. Like,
well, why don't
relegation, man?
The best thing to do is if you, instead of a championship week, I don't even know. Have your bottom two team, like the third team in the conference, play each other in another game to get the bottom seeds. I guess would be the best way to do it.
Oh, interesting. So take the third place from the Big 12 and the ACC or whatever, and have them play to see who gets
whoever it is. Yeah, so whatever conference, I don't know, to fill it out. But
I don't hate that, because you kind of get rid of the stupid at-large stuff, and it's
you get that at-large nonsense.
You get more teams playing that extra weekend.
So it actually matters, because I think the biggest thing too is you're gonna get teams that were rested, because I think that's what kind of hurt Indiana, because Indiana was the only team here. Indiana, Ohio State, but Ohio State's doing pretty well. Like Indiana and Ohio State haven't played in a couple weeks. All the teams that didn't play last week, apart from Notre Dame, were all Big Ten schools. So like Indiana didn't play, Ohio State didn't play, and Penn State didn't play. All the other teams were in conference games.
And that's somebody posted on Twitter, and they're right, at least to me. Like, the top of the Big Ten and the top of the SEC are like the top of college football. Like, there's no doubt, right? Yeah. But the bottom and middle of those conferences are some of the worst football in college football. Meaning, I will say the thing I like about the ACC and the Big 12 is you've got a bunch of mid schools, I guess is what you'd say. You got a bunch of good teams, but not great teams. And but that's the thing, is like Ohio State this year didn't get all that tested, other than Indiana and. They had
Michigan,
a couple of big games.
They played Oregon.
But Michigan wasn't really a test, or it shouldn't have been.
I guess it's still Michigan, Ohio State though. Like that always is going to bring a little bit more.
But you were number 2. They were unranked. You should have wiped the floor with them. You were.
I wouldn't say the middle's bad. I think the middle. I wouldn't say that. I don't think the middle and bottom are the worst. I think the problem is the middle's just glumped together, because I don't think there's separation, at least yet. Now there might be, but I don't even think the top is necessarily the top. I don't think. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Indiana was a fluke. I don't think Indiana is going to repeat next year. Penn State probably will. SMU sure as shit isn't. Boise maybe. But I think a lot of it too was like, even Arizona, I don't see like a perennial repeat with a lot of this. I think a lot of it was just luck. But I think you're going to see a lot of like the playing field getting more and more level as we go along, because guys will just transfer and play.
Right, and we've already seen that with the transfer portal. There's been so much movement already. And yeah,
Like
Indiana,
I said,
100%.
USC got 2 giant defensive linemen in 2 days.
Yeah.
And that's gonna change it, especially if they're interior linemen. Like, good luck running through a brick wall. Like,
yeah,
I would just like to say that I've avoided there was an opportunity for some BYU.
I'm glad. Joe, no more BYU propaganda. No more BYU propaganda.
Instead of BYU propaganda,
no more BYU propaganda.
USC propaganda.
Yeah, he's been so down on USC all year. Let's give this one to him.
Yeah,
all I said is they got 2 big guys.
USC all year is now like, oh, now that Bryce isn't going to talk BYU,
I'll allow BYU propaganda when they get 2 giant dudes to fix their defensive line. Then we can have BYU propaganda.
Do you think AJ DeMonto will play defensive line?
He probably play wide receiver. He'd be a hell of a wide receiver.
All right.
Colorado get 2 giant defensive linemen?
Actually, we did get one from Georgia. Yeah, and then we.
Oh, nice. We both stole a guy from Georgia.
Yeah, and then we got the quarterback from Liberty, who apparently was good. I don't know who he is, but I'll take it. Liberty was good last year, I think so.
I was just saying, I'm really interested to see what Colorado does next year with losing Shedeur and Hunter, because they made up a good portion of why that team was so good.
I think losing Hunter, I think will be okay. We had a lot of really good receivers outside of him. It's just he's the one that got all the shine. And Jimmy Horn was hurt a lot this year. But yeah, quarterback, I have no freaking idea what we're gonna do. Like, hopefully, this guy from Liberty's good. Hopefully that our number 1 overall recruit's pretty good. So I guess we'll see. I'm just gonna trust Dion. He'll make it work.
Well, you really can do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any say over it. So.
I mean, there's also still time too. So I mean, it's not guys could transfer out as they go.
And like, what's the worst thing we had that can happen? We suck again. Well, that's been 30 years.
Oh no, we
so
suck again.
Shit, like
good year of enjoying our college football team.
I know, it's like, yeah, it was good, and then we're back to
it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah. That's how we were like 10 years ago with Cephalua. We were good for 1 year, and then he left, and we sucked again. We're like, hey, that was fun. It was a good time.
That is my fear for BYU is that we're just going to go in next year and either be really middling or like really bad. And it's going to be like, well, at least we had that 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I just remember when I was in high school, some of the guys on our football team were getting heavily recruited by Colorado, like over 10 years ago.
Well, and that's the thing is California is like our biggest recruiting state, which is crazy. Like, we don't really recruit even in Colorado all that great. Like the LA area is where we recruit.
They were going after two of our wide receivers and like 1 defensive lineman who like went to like D2 and apparently was like a monster, and he still brags about it on Facebook.
Nice.
And somebody was like, "Bro, it was a D2 school. Let it go."
And also, it was the defensive tackle we got was from Alabama, and he was the number 1 rated in ESPN transfer rankings.
Anyone know what the funniest part is about that defensive end?
What?
So that defensive end was a failed running back because he was too slow to be a running back.
So we'll put you with the defensive end.
So his brother was like a very like beefy kind of like Derrick Henry running back. Like he would just run you over like a Tonka truck.
Mm-hmm.
So brother had a similar build, and they're like, "Oh, we can do it," but he was 1, too stupid, and 2, like he just was way slower. So it's not like it was like, "Oh, was he the fastest guy on the field?" No, but he would just ram into you,
run people over.
He would just run people over and get like 50-yard breaks while running like 2 miles an hour. But his brother was running like a 1.5 miles and couldn't knock people over.
Nice. All right.
So he could have been at Colorado.
Hell yeah. Hey, we'll take him, dude. All right, so we got all of our teams care about bowl games next weekend. Do we want to start CU-BYU, or do we want to talk at all about USC Texas A&M? Do you care about USC Texas A&M, or you just hope they get blown out?
No, I don't care. I expect nothing from that bowl game.
Got it.
Because I thought A&M was like fairly decent.
I think they were fine. Like,
I don't. They played better with that quarterback with what's his face. So I think they might be in a little better position because they have an actual
they're 8-4
quarterback that can do more.
Losses.
So it's one of those. So I guess it's one of those positions where it's like, do you think USC? Because like USC, I think shocked them last year, where it was sort of in a similar spot because Caleb Williams didn't play in the Holiday Bowl.
Right.
That was the first time
Miller Moss.
Miller Moss was going to be
and then Miller Moss looked Ellen. Wow, Miller Moss looked amazing, and then his Strue's color showed that he was
have like at least one big win this year. I feel like I remember them. There was like a win that they had this year where I was like, it was like, oh, A&M.
They beat number 9 Missouri. They lost to 3 Texas. They lost to LSU. Lost to Notre Dame.
They played Texas tough though. They only lost
17 to 7. They lost by 10.
Didn't they play?
They beat LSU.
Didn't they play
LSU.
Notre Dame pretty tough?
23-13 they lost. So sure. I don't know if that might have been a garbage time touchdown. I don't know. So like, it may have been tough for most of the game. Yeah, actually, it looks like it was. They were only down 7 going into the fourth quarter, so they did play pretty well.
So I don't even know. If you were to ask me, like, I don't even know. Like, sure. I mean, would it be cool if USC won? Yeah, sure. Do I think they will? I don't know. Maybe.
Right. And honestly, like, it's one of those things where it's like, what do you even really get out of it, right? Like, if it's not college football playoff, honestly, like, these bowl games kind of don't matter to me. But
especially when it's like you know guys are going to be going.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams are like half built because people are already leaving through the transfer portal. Like we've talked about, it's a stupid time of year. Like, so.
Well, yeah, for me mentally, once BYU was out of the college football playoff or out of the conference championship or whatever, I was like, I was like, okay, football's kind of done. And then it's like, oh, we're playing Colorado, and that's one of the better bowl games. And I was like, yeah, that'll be fun to watch. But I keep because it's so far out, I just keep forgetting about it until like it'll be here, and I'll just we'll be in the middle of it when we're doing our podcast next week,
right? And honestly,
and I'll be like, yeah, okay, this has been fun to watch.
Yeah, and if it wasn't CU versus BYU, if it was CU versus anyone else or BYU versus anyone else, we would care much less. Like at least I would. Like I don't care that much, except for it's playing BYU, and I want to talk shit to Bryce later.
CU-BYU, I was gonna say if it's CU-BYU and you didn't know me, you'd probably just be like, I'd be like,
whatever.
School,
whatever.
Weird.
Yeah, I guess Steve Young went there or whatever, so that's cool. But like,
Jimmer
Fredette,
that's literally. By the way, that's literally all that the what's it called? The college football 25 game says about BYU. It's like the house in altitude that Steve Young built.
Yeah,
and it's like. You guys know we also had Jim McMahon. Like
that's true. You guys did, yeah.
Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon wasn't that great of a quarterback.
Hey, the Bears though. What's crazy is he still's the best one the Bears have ever had. So
no, that's Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's the best quarterback they've ever had.
Okay, yeah, probably. You're right.
Like that's the funny part is everyone hates Jay Cutler in Chicago, and he was their best quarterback. By the numbers,
Jim McMahon's a Hall of Famer, though, isn't he? So, I'll claim him.
No, he is not.
He's not.
Is he not?
No,
he shouldn't. He's not. He shouldn't. He
is
even close.
One-time Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
comeback player of the year and 2 Super Bowls.
I think it was just one of those things because he played in the Ditka era that everyone thinks he was way better than he was.
Because he played with that Bears team that was. Pretty consensus the top defense to ever exist. Like that's the. I just love
the fact that Bears team won 2 Super Bowls, and yet a team led by Rex Grossman couldn't win a Super Bowl.
You mean the legend Rex Grossman? What do you mean?
The Broncos legend Rex Grossman.
He never played for the Broncos. We had.
Oh, you had Kyler Orton. That's right.
Kyle Orton, who's way.
You had Kyle Orton, who was way worse.
I have never seen a guy not give less of a shit. What's that?
Didn't he get you guys to the playoffs?
Oh, he did. Yeah, no, I actually didn't mind Kyle Orton. He was fine. Like
Jay Cutler really much was just like, I don't care.
I know. Man. Wait, Kyle Orton, where are his playoff stats? He made the playoffs, right?
I thought he had 1 year, didn't he? Or am I just making things up in my head?
He ever made the playoffs?
Wow.
Am
no.
I
Kyle
forgetting?
Orton did
Am I remembering correctly? Wasn't Brock Osweiler one of your guys' quarterbacks in Denver?
Yeah, he was.
Yep,
We
he was the
drafted
heir
him.
apparent.
Yeah,
Brock Osweiler. It's the Brock Osweiler era is the one that
it sure was. No,
he was the heir apparent.
He was,
to
and it
Peyton.
was funny. The season we won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning like sucked, Brock Osweiler got a little play, and Peyton Manning would like go out on the field, like essentially bench Brock Osweiler himself. And some of the reactions from Brock on the sideline were so freaking funny.
Yeah, hey, let this young guy.
He's like, Peyton Manning's in again. Damn it!
God damn it! Go away, old man.
What I remember about Brock Osweiler was, well, a couple things. I had a buddy of mine who was from Kalispell, Montana, and that's about from where Osweiler was.
Yeah,
and so he knew Brock Osweiler a bit.
Oh yeah,
and,
nice.
And so I remember he played like a season or two after Peyton left.
Yeah, he played
in Denver,
one year.
He converted like a decent season into like a huge contract
with the Texans. Yeah, essentially,
and then did nothing.
Yeah,
but great, good for him. He still made millions of dollars, and now actually, I will say this: he did some games this year for BYU for the is he ESPN or Fox?
Yeah, he's one of the play-by-play guys.
ESPN, but he's a color guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like Brock Osweiler as a color commentator.
He's not bad.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
the BYU Utah game, and it was funny because they when they went to do the replay, you could barely see anything. But when they did the replay of that defensive holding call at the end of the BYU Utah game, I remember I looked at it, I was like, what is that? Where? And like it wasn't until I saw like really close up replays that I was like, okay, yeah, that was defensive holding. But Brock Osweiler, like, I don't know how he was able to see it, but he was like, oh yeah, that's clear holding. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, it was beneficial to my team, but still, it was like, he could see some stuff that, and I think that's, his experience in football is like, he sees some stuff and he's like, okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, no, he wasn't bad. It's just, he was like 6'7", so like, he was a statue. He couldn't move very well. His arm strength wasn't crazy good. Like, wasn't most of his stuff based on the fact that they had some really good people around him, and that's why he was able to perform? That's part of it. Like,
level?
Yeah, like, so his first 3 years in the league, he played behind Peyton Manning. Barely saw any play time. During that 2015 season, it looks like he played 7 games when Peyton Manning was hurt, 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. And essentially, that's what got him the contract. So he started 7 games from us during that Super Bowl year. And that offense was, even with Peyton Manning being diminished, was still ridiculous. With Demaryius Thomas, we had Julius Thomas, we had, I think at that time we still had Noshawn, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had Eric Decker too. So like, our offense was freaking stacked that year, even though Peyton Manning sucked. Man, I miss those Broncos teams. Those are so fun.
Broncos teams where you had a legitimate thought of, we could win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, well, in that year, our defense was so freaking nasty. It was such a gross defense that they carried us the whole way. Oh, Emmanuel Sanders. At that point, Eric Decker had went to the Jets already. So
Big Dick Decker left?
Yeah, he had left and went to the Jets. We got Emmanuel Sanders in free agency, and he was awesome. I love Emmanuel Sanders. So,
is there anything else we want to talk about before we call it a day?
I mean, we didn't really get to talk too much about the BYU Colorado game next week.
Colorado's gonna win. What do we need to talk about?
Yeah, 5-point favorites. I don't know. It just depends on how much are like. So what's it called? We talked about this a bit, but like Hunter and Sanders are playing.
They allegedly are playing. Yes.
That might be the wrong decision.
I think it's the wrong decision. Yes. If you're a top 10 pick, you should not be playing.
But it is interesting in the sense that you wonder, like, are they going to actually play? Like, are they going to play, or is this going to be like playing in an all-star game kind of playing, like where they're going to go out there, but they're going to make all the safe decisions to make sure that they're not injured come draft time?
I think if they're going to actually play, I think but
they might be on a pitch count.
They might be on a pitch count, true. But to me, it's like, if you're going to play at all, you either go 100%, and maybe you're on a pitch count or whatever, but you're at least playing hard for your snaps.
I hope they're playing 100% because
otherwise you're more likely to get hurt.
One of those, I was gonna say football is one of those sports where if you're not playing 100%, you're gonna get hurt. Because
football and hockey are like that. You have to play 100%.
Players are gonna do anything extra to you. You're gonna plant your foot wrong because you're like, I'm gonna try to do this, and then you go to do it, and you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah. So I think assuming both of them play, I think we win by a touchdown. Personally,
I think that's probably fair. I mean, it just depends on how quickly BYU's defense adjusts.
Yeah,
because that's been BYU's thing the whole year. Was like they had a good defense for the most part, but they tended to let a couple touchdowns go first, and then they'd go, "Oh, let's do this and this," and then they would shut down everything.
Right.
It's like, well, couldn't you have made that adjustment earlier in the game?
And Colorado's offense.
What about our offense shows up? Like BYU's got some good players, but it's like you got Travis Hunter and some pretty and then there's I don't know names, but I remember watching Colorado and being like, this is a pretty good defense.
No, their defense actually came on in the second half of the year, and we got some really good defensive line help in the transfer portal last year. So one guy from, I think it was North Carolina or something, that I think ended up winning our conference's best newcomer of the year or something like that. So yeah, no, our defense was pretty good, and the offense is so explosive that if BYU lets up 2 early ones, then that could be really bad for BYU, because Colorado will pile it on. That defense will start pinning their ears back and start getting after Retzlaff pretty hard. So yeah, but I guess I'll see what happens. Again, I just hope it's a good game, and that everyone plays. That's the biggest thing.
Who shows up for each team, not necessarily in terms of who plays, but how do they play?
Right. Yeah. Speaking of Travis Hunter, we should see if he wants to be on the Denver Nuggets, because he was putting on a dunk contest before the CU Buffs basketball game yesterday. he is such a crazy athlete.
I thought what you were going to say, we should see if Travis Hunter wants to be on the podcast.
Hey, no, I mean,
I was like, do you have connections?
No, I wish
you use them to this point.
I wish. No, I want him on the Denver Nuggets. That's what I'm thinking now.
We put Jokic on the Broncos. That'd be fun.
Hey, he would make all the right decisions at least. No interceptions for him. All right. Did we want to talk the fair catch kickoff? The fair catch.
Oh, right. Thing? Yeah. We did talk about that before the podcast about we should talk about that. No, that was fun because we were all talking because with CJ being a Nuggets or not Nuggets, a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
And then me being a former Chargers fan / I still
Rams
fan. To see the Chargers. Well, I'm a Rams fan, but I'm the Chargers are kind of my backup team in a sense.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Because I was a Chargers fan for so long, it's I don't want to.
It's just I'm the same way. I got the Commanders are my backup team. Yeah.
My history is I didn't really even watch that much NFL, other than what my dad would have on the TV until I was 13.
Gotcha.
14 maybe, and that was after I started watching some college football, and so I just kind of chose the team. I chose the Chargers because it was the only Southern California team.
Right. Yeah.
And so when the Chargers and Rams moved to LA in the same offseason, I chose a team, and I was still kind of iffy about it, but I chose the Rams because I don't like Dean Spanos.
Makes sense. I don't think a lot of people like that guy, to be honest. So,
but ultimately, I still like the team itself. I'm yeah, okay, I would love to see them win a Super Bowl eventually, but so if there was ever a time where the Rams weren't in it and the Chargers were, I'd be sitting there rooting for the Chargers. But anyway, so we were watching that and having all that conversation, and that first half we were, as Spects so eloquently put it, the Chargers were chargering.
They sure were.
And it looked just like Denver was probably going to run away with it, and then all of a sudden, I feel like that fair catch free kick just changed everything.
That
basically.
sucks so bad.
I feel like the locker room for the Chargers must have gone in and been like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened?" And so then all of a sudden there's like excitement coming back out onto the field. So, but it's funny because when that kick happened, I remember thinking, I remember this being, I remember reading up on the rule one of the last times this happened. Well, one of the last couple times this happened. Mm-hmm. And I was like, didn't Jim Harbaugh, and I was like, or was it John Harbaugh, or one of those guys, didn't like they do that, try to do that the one that instigated me looking this up in the past was Jim Harbaugh when he was with the 49ers in 2013, attempted a 71-yard fair catch free kick.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I've rewatched that replay. It wasn't that far off. It would have been a fun, like, little, like, nugget of, like, hey, look at this. But, because, like, that free kick thing, it allows you to just, like, get as much of a run at it as you want. You can basically do a
practice. It's a practice kick, basically. And
so you can some of these kickers could hit from like 70, but
So
and I didn't see, what was funny was I didn't see the kick live. Like it was in halftime when I saw the replay.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
And then but what was funny because I saw on ESPN, I went to the Gamecast thing and it was like and I went to the play-by-play and it was like fair catch interference penalty enforced at the whatever 38.
Yeah, it was the fair catch had him at their own 38. It's a 15-yard penalty. They kicked it from R47. Yeah.
Well, and that's what confused me was I read that and I was like, how are they getting because then the next thing says like 47-yard field goal. Good. It doesn't say fair catch free kick or anything. It just says field goal. And I was like, how is that a 47? Like, I'm doing the math in my head of like this penalty would bring them to like just past the midfield.
Yeah.
How are they kicking a 47-yard field goal? And then I'm like, oh, because they don't have to go 7 yards back because they're literally doing it from the marker. So.
Oh, that's true.
Because normally you do it 7 yards back.
Yeah, you're right. You do it 7 yards back because of the rush, but there is no rush. You can kick it right from the line of scrimmage.
Which is, and that's the reason these free kicks are like. That's why there was a 71-yard attempt for the 49ers back in the day. It was because you can literally approach it like a kickoff. You could just put all your juice into it and hope that it goes right down the middle. And there are some kickers that I would love to see get like a really long fair catch kick because.
I mean,
there are some of these kickers I feel like they used to like hit these 70-yard kickoffs. Like they'd kick it off straight through the uprights almost every time, and it was like,
well, yeah, like
it'd be fun to see.
Matt Prater has hit a 65-yarder in game. He 100% could hit a 75-yarder easy. Like his leg is ridiculous.
But yeah, so and I don't know if you saw Jim Harbaugh after the game, his interview. They were like, "Hey, can we talk to you about that?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's my favorite rule in football."
It's such a weird rule, and it like
somebody. One of the reporters put it this way. They were like, "Did you see the opportunity?" And we're just like, "Yes, this is my chance to shine." And he said, "Yep, that's exactly like."
Yeah, it's such a weird rule, and that was the first one since like the 1970s. So like it's
the
something
first made one, yeah.
The first made one, yeah. There's been a bunch of attempts.
There was an attempt in 2019, and
yeah, it's like once every like 4 or 5 years there's an attempt. But yeah, this is the first one that someone has actually made. And...
It really is though that one of those rules where you sit there and you're like, yeah, this feels like rugby.
Yeah, it's like, what sport are we playing? What is this allowed?
Like it's like a whole rule from like. It feels like when they were sitting down to make the rules of football, they were like, all right, so on a fair catch, what should we do here? And then it's like...
That is 100%, I would bet, a leftover rule from when football was started as a child of rugby. Yeah, exactly. And that it's just no one's ever changed it because it almost never comes up. So they're just like, yeah, we'll keep it in. It's weird. It's fun. It's like the drop kick punt by the quarterback, like that type of stuff. Like no one ever does that stuff, but it's still allowed.
90%, 99% of the time, it gives you no advantage.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very fringe scenario where it makes sense to do. Yeah.
Like the reason he did it there, no time on the clock.
Yeah.
So
And you get a free 57-yarder.
You can either throw a Hail Mary or get a free 3 points going into the locker room.
Yeah.
And it's like that was the moment Harbaugh was waiting for. He's just like,
all
right, I'll take the 3 points now.
Yeah. So yeah, then we fell apart. We stopped running the ball.
I was gonna say
our defense had so many penalties.
Are we still in line for that list of things that Spects sent us? The thing that he got from the group chat.
Wait.
Oh, that if like all the teams lose, Denver gets in. Yes, because if Denver loses, the Colts lose.
Well, it's the AFC.
Miami loses.
Like the group would be decided, right?
Yeah, the group would be done if all the teams underneath lose, which 2 of the 3 maybe.
Where is that?
Despite what somebody said, like I can see that happening, except for the Browns, and I'm like, you haven't seen the Titans play all year, have you?
Yeah. No, it's I think at this point Denver's the only one that isn't locked in. If I'm not like in terms of being in the playoffs.
I have no idea how it works
because
the Chargers aren't locked in either because it's like they have for
isn't that one the Titans need to win over the Colts and then
I said twice if all the teams underneath lose, so the Colts lose, the Dolphins lose, and the Bengals lose, the AFC's done, it's locked up. But if one of those teams wins, I think. Then
we go on next week and see what happens.
It's next week.
That one team that wins
is going to be alive.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's been sort of saying like it's really just the Colts and everyone else because there was the odd scenario, but now I don't think it makes a difference because the Broncos have the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
no way.
I still don't understand how the Colts are still in it.
Because
it's because they can take the Charger spot. That's why. They can't take the Broncos spot, but they can take the Charger spot, I think.
Yeah, as I say, the Broncos.
No, because the way it would work would be because the Broncos. I don't know how it would work because it'd have to be something like the Chargers would have because the Chargers own that tiebreaker. So how the hell does that work? The Chargers own that tiebreaker.
Oh, do they own the tiebreaker?
No, they own the Broncos tiebreaker.
No, they do. They do. Yeah, the Colts own the Broncos tiebreaker.
I don't understand. So like if the Chargers lose out, the Broncos lose out, but the Colts win out. Then they all end up with the same record. They're all.
Yeah, as I say, the Chargers have set themselves up now for win and you're in.
So what would have to happen is for them to lose out, then I don't know what that scenario would be. Would it be the Broncos move up a spot? Or because the Broncos would have to be would it be at 6, we'd be at 7.
So essentially all 3 of them would have tiebreakers against each other.
I think that's how it works.
Like a circle. In that case, I think you end up having to go to second tiebreaker, which I have no idea what the hell that would even be.
That's how the Colts get in.
Well, and what's funny is we're sitting here and I'm pretty sure that despite the fact that Spects' hatred for this current Colts front office,
if they got
well deserved,
mind you,
he would still be like,
no.
We could win it all.
I am not naive. We ain't beating the Bills.
And
Richardson, I have said this, and I will say it again.
Right now. They'll take you.
Here's what's gonna happen. I write this down and send it somewhere. This is what's going to happen. The Colts are gonna sign that stupid old MFer Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback because that's just Ballard's thing. And if they're smart, they trade away Anthony Richardson. They fired Shane Steichen. They fire Chris Ballard. They go out and draft Whittiers. And sure, if you can get Kirk Cousins for a bag of peanuts and a donut, sure, go for it.
You will.
But which we will. But it's like you can't do it with this regime. This regime needs to go. So whatever gets them out of there needs to go. Needs to be the case. And send Anthony Richardson to the fucking Giants for all I care.
Agree. And the Kirk Cousins thing, he is going to sign a tiny contract because the Falcons are going to be on the hook for all of next year's salary. Essentially, just what Russell Wilson just did. Same exact thing. It.
Yep. Because at this point, if they know Anthony Richardson's not the guy, cut him now because it's not going to cost them anything. They can trade him first. They can trade him first, a second, and a third.
Probably
easy.
Yeah. I remember the day when you were excited about Anthony Richardson.
You know what's funny? I never really was excited about Anthony Richardson. I wanted CJ
I guess
Stroud.
Excited was over the top. I mean, but I remember when you guys drafted him, you were like,
I was
well, at least it'll be something.
I wanted Stroud because all the reporting was sort of like it was going to be Bryce Young, but because the way originally I think it was looking was there was no indication Houston was taking a quarterback. No one really knew what they were going to do, and if they were, a lot of them said, "Oh, they're going to take Anthony Richardson because he has the bigger arm," meaning Stroud was going to slide to the Colts because I think the Cardinals had a pick. Cardinals had the second pick, and they weren't going to take anyone. So that's what it was sort of lining up to where it was like, oh, we can kind of take whoever's left. And a lot of people thought, oh, they'll take Richardson because he's got the bigger arm and they can ride with it.
He's disgustingly talented, but yeah, as a quarterback, he's just not.
That was the thing.
Say he has the tools, the talent to be an amazing quarterback, but mentally his tools are just not there.
That's why
there's certain things that he, like football IQ, not always great. Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes
to be fair, Shane Steichen's football IQ is probably just about the same, if not worse.
So it doesn't help. I found this thing. I guess Anthony Richardson joined Cam Newton and Dante Culpepper as the only quarterbacks to have a perfect RAS score, which I guess is a relative athletic score for their build. So he's the perfect athlete, apparently.
But he can't do shit. That's the problem. Is he can't, fine, make him a wide receiver. Like, he can't. He's not a quarterback.
No, he's. I don't. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, you're better off signing Kirk Cousins for pennies and drafting
I'll bring some BYU propaganda in for you.
I'm not taking the Jew. I'm not taking the BYU.
No.
It's not happening.
No. Not trying to convince you of anything. Just saying, for me, it's like Taysom Hill in the sense that he was brought into the league as a quarterback, but look at him now because he was willing to be there and do whatever his team's asked him to do. He's now suddenly very highly thought of because he just does whatever it takes to help his team win.
I don't think Richardson's going to do that. I think
I know. That's the thing. If he did,
you know where he would. You know
my
where
point is. If he did,
you know
it would be
he would excel. You know, Richardson would excel. Send him to Miami. He can play alongside McDaniel and probably have fun there.
And the thing is, McDaniel would think of some crazy shit that would work, though.
Yes, I'm trying to condemn him.
My question, though, is, I was gonna say, are you condemning him to being Tua and having 6 concussions in 2 weeks?
That's a Tua thing, not a McDaniel thing.
I don't think. Yeah, that's not a McDaniel thing. I think he'd actually do really well in that offense.
I think so too.
Such a bunch of Dunkin' dives and stuff, where it's
can you imagine Richardson's arm with Tyreek Hill running underneath?
What my point is.
That's disgusting.
Because you have to remember that too. Is the Colts two have no coaching.
Yeah.
One have no coaching, no GM, and have no wide receivers.
You really don't. It's bad.
So you're really playing a game of maybe Jonathan Taylor can do something.
Except
good luck with that.
Yeah.
So I just want the lot. I just want the lot of them gone because give me a quarterback who can just do it. That's what I'm saying. Go get Kirk Cousins for a bag of peanuts, draft Quentin Ewers, and then maybe we'll be good. Maybe we can actually win because the Colts are the worst team in the AFC South by a wide margin.
I still feel bad for Kirk Cousins.
Why?
I don't. The man's getting a bunch of money, not playing.
Well, I know.
He's living the dream.
The
man's living. So
the reason I feel bad for him is
over $100 million to suck.
Yeah.
Wow, what a shame.
That's what I'm saying. I don't feel bad for him because he sucks and he's making all the money.
I don't know. Atlanta last year. Atlanta just has not been good for multiple years.
True.
And he was. And I was gonna say, Kirk Cousins was pretty decent in Minnesota last year.
He also had Justin Jefferson.
He had all these extra tools, but and that's the thing. I think there's a lot of guys that we are they suck, and it's if you give them the tools,
just 1,000%. Yeah.
Have you seen Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold looks like an MVP candidate.
Lighting it up, yeah.
So
hey, I'm just saying, Bo Nix is doing all this without any tools. So who's Tom Brady 2.0 now?
I don't know. Devon Vele is looking pretty good.
Yeah, Vele isn't bad actually, but I mean, besides Cortland Sutton, it's tough.
Are you telling me what? Marvin Mims Jr. is a nobody.
He is a dynamic athlete as a kick returner. On offense, he leaves a lot to be desired. He's got all the speed, but there's a reason why he doesn't play a bunch of snaps on offense.
He can always draft a wide receiver this year.
I know. Travis Hunter. Trade up.
Trade up to number 3 to get Travis Hunter.
I'm so down, you have no idea.
No, I don't even know if why would
I'll trade him Jamal Murray.
Would you trade him Jamal Murray? Yeah. I like that he's we'll trade you the Nuggets. We'll trade you a Nugget
because that might end up being a dead contract. So
All right. Anything else we want to talk about?
I was gonna mention the Jets owner stuff because it's hilarious, but
we talked about that.
I think
we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did. So,
all right.
Teenagers were running the Jets organization.
So no midweek episode because it's Christmas, but I think we'll have some Christmas. We might have some Christmas fun on Saturday. I don't.
We'll be back next Saturday. Who knows what we'll do? We'll figure it out. I'll see you guys. We will see you guys later.